Hey, welcome. Today I'm going to do a walkthrough of a Scary Pockets mix I did a while ago. I recorded this one too, so we'll talk about tracking it a bit. But the song is Back to Black. You can go check it out on the YouTube to see the video version of it. Madelyn Grant is singing on it. We got Rob Humphreys on drums. We got Travis Carlton on bass. We got Jake Sherman on piano. We got Jack Conti on whirly. And we got Ryan Lerman on guitar. It was a great day at Big Bad Sound Studio A. This session was a little different for Scary Pockets because the singer was not in the room with us. I had her in the booth, and then we ran her voice out through a monitor to the musician. So that's why in the video nobody's wearing headphones. So there's like a wedge out in front of the band. Then she's on phones, obviously, so she can see. She can hear everything. She can see everything through the glass. Yeah, and then she could hear everything through a Talkback mic that I put out there that we'll talk about later, actually, which is cool. So welcome to Pro Tools. This is the Pro Tools session. We got folders. This is vocal, drums, bass, guitar, keys, piano delay. Cool. Let's start with drums. Actually, real quick. I got all my effects over here. The way that UAD loads stuff, there's just some things that like to be at the front of sessions. Put your effects wherever you want. It works for me to put them over here. I have less problems loading like multiple ocean waves if I'm using them. So let's see. Oh yeah, and then there's some buses that I'm not really doing anything with. These are just routing buses that are all set to 0 and not doing a darn thing. But sometimes I'll compress just the drums and bass, or just the band, or just the vocals. Oh, I'm doing a little bit of work on all the effects together, which is great. And then that's my master bus, and there's nothing going on this particular song. Let's listen to a little bit of this. The verse, I'm going to mute the vocals here just so we can kind of hear what the band is doing. Nope, I can't hear a darn thing. Why is that? Oh, now I can. So the verse is this kind of like long, sustainy, spacious thing with the drum playing all the sixteenths and the guitar doing the picky plucky thing, and the pianos are just kind of holding down the harmonic fort, so they say. And then when we get to the chorus, we're doing something different. Man, I just love it when people play snare on all the quarters. Whenever the arrangement asks for that, it makes me so happy. I'm just a happy guy about snare on quarters here. All right, let's get into it. Let's start with this kick. Crazy. He's hitting the rim with his drumstick, so that's going to demand some gating. I've got Oxford drum gate going on here. Doing a ton of work. Yeah, that is bringing it down like a lot. Just shaping the bottom end a little bit. And then this EQ is adding in a lot of bottom, kind of taking down some of the top, taking down some low mids. It's really in reality just a big old bottom shelf. I got an 1176, just kind of controlling it some. Yeah, it's hitting it pretty hard. I love it. Making it gooey. Whew! We got some toop, kind of adding to the gooiness. Making it bloom. Giving it some harmonic explosion. I don't know what's happening here. You can just look at that. It's like a lot of tube, a lot less tape. So it's like, first order harmonics versus... or second order harmonics versus third order harmonics or whatever. And then I got an EQ that's really, really messing with it. Oh yeah, we're making it nasal, making it push through, taking down some of the subs. Yeah, on its own, I like the sound a lot, but this is what the mix felt like it needed. And honestly, some of that low mid and that low chunkiness you're getting from a lot of other sources. Like this was recorded live. We're all in the same room, so there is bleed galore. And there's a piano on this one, which is actually a pretty big contributor to the bottom end of the drum sound. So I got that going on. Then this SPL transient designer, just kind of, here's off. Yeah, you know, it's not doing a ton. And it's really interacting with the Studer, which I think I just put on all the drum tracks. Yeah, I did. It's like a 15 ips. Not hitting it very hard at all, just getting some harmonics in there. I like what it does to the low end. It kind of just brings it forward a little bit. I mean, there's other ways to achieve that, but this one made sense and was easy. Next off, we got the snare. There's not a ton going on. Oh, you know what I guess I did on this is I auto-aligned everything to the, well, not everything, not the kick mic, but I auto-aligned the overhead, the hat, the snare bottom, and the snare to this snare track. So there's some stuff going on. I don't always auto align, but it made sense on this one. I must have been struggling with something. Here's it soloed out with it off all of these instances. Let's go. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, it sounds good. It's a little more focused this way. Actually, you know what? I maybe prefer it off, but, you know, whatever. It worked at the time. Then on the snare mic, I got this Oxford drum gate going on. It doesn't sound like it's doing a ton. Yeah. It's kind of making it more about the backbeats and less about the stuff in between the backbeats, especially when you get some compression going. Gates and compressors work together a lot. So... what's this doing? 8-to-1 thing. Pretty slow attack. Pretty fast release. Yeah, without that gate. That's crazy. Take out the compression, it works okay. But they're kind of both working to achieve one fat snare. And then this EQ is kind of bringing out some of the fundamental, taking out some low mids weirdness. See what's happening. Let's turn these off. Woo! Woo! I know those frequencies. Those are in other channels too. So here's the snare bottom. I didn't do much on this. Just a little, again, more gating. Some EQ. Taking out some mids. Taking out some of that fundamental. Didn't need it from this mic. Again, more Studer. I think all of these are probably, yeah, the same settings. Then this hat, I'm going to just fly through this. Just some filtering going on. And then a little bit of compression. I don't think this is doing anything serious. Yeah, just kind of darkening up the transient a little bit. Because you're getting a lot of that through this overhead mic. Which I did. Oh, I guess this is a lot of EQ. Let's turn it off. Yeah, it's mostly this stuff in here that's doing the heavy lifting. Clearing it up. Might have gone overboard on this guy, but you know, it's coming off a lot of other mics. They're all interacting together, so sometimes, you know, you pull more than you need to out of something, and that's totally fine. We don't mix in solo, do we? Sometimes I do on accident, and it's never good. Okay, now the cool mic that I got going on is I had this Talkback mic out for the band so I could hear what they were saying, and Madelyn, who's in a booth, could hear what they were saying. And I just crushed it. You can see from this waveform. Holy moly, I don't know what I was using on that. I don't know what the Talkback mic was. I doubt Ricky got it in the video. Maybe somebody can tell me, but I'm not going to scope it and watch. So here's it just totally in the raw. It's going to the effects bus. It's not even going to the band bus, and I'll show you, or the drums bus. I'll show you why. So, you know, it's just a Oh, I guess it's not on. I'm automating it up and down. Yeah. This is kind of a verse effect. So I'm gating it a little bit, so it's making it more about the drums and less about the bleed. This is just some Pro G. It's a funny sounding setting. Doesn't matter. Then some filtering, which actually I don't probably need because this Echo Boy is doing a ton of filtering. Yeah, I could. This is just inconsequential. Sometimes you're just going with the flow and you don't turn off plugins. That's cool. So this Echo Boy is the coolness of this part. I have it fully wet and it's delayed, like about the delay of like a slap. I think a 15-hit slap is like 129 milliseconds or something, so it's in that territory. It sounds like it's matching up with 30 seconds or something. And when you combine it with the overhead, whoo, that's weird. Oh, that's so cool. And then you don't really need it in that chorus, so I have it automating so it's off in there. But that is just a cool sound. This SPL is just kind of making it again more about the drums, and this EQ is just doing a little more tone shaping. I must have not needed that 3K. Sometimes I'll throw up other weird mics in the room and do stuff like this with them. A lot of times they don't get used, but every once in a while I'm really glad that I did, because that is a cool sound and it really contributes to the drum sound. So here. It's without it. Oh, it's so boring. Yeah, it's kind of doing a low midsy space echo thing. So like all that low mids that I scooped out of the overheads and the snare, I'm sure we're interacting with that delay, and they just needed to go. Okay, moving on to the bus, the drums bus. I might have had this Pultec, this PQ1A on, but it didn't load. This little switch was off, and I might have just been tricking myself thinking I was adding 16K, but I don't know. There's no way to go back. I mixed this on another computer. I don't know if the plugin just loaded weird or whatever. Then I got this MEQ just pulling out a little bit of 300. It's really like, sometimes I put Pultecs on there just to add some harmonics. Nothing groundbreaking. A little tone shaping. And then what's really working is this MJUC compressor, this Klanghelm. Woo! I love that. Goes from sounding kind of floppy and not like drums to sounding like drums. Love that. Then I'm taking down some of the transients with this Faraday limiter, and it's shaping some tone too. Actually, it's brightening it a little bit. That's cool. And then some more EQ. Oh yeah. So I was trying to think about what I did, like why I would have done this, and I think I did this mostly for the verses. There's not, the pianos are all kind of sitting down in this low mids range, and those are the sustainy things. The guitar is really like, you know, plucky right in this sort of 2-3K range. And so I think the top of the drums was kind of sitting in that guitar range. So I pulled some of that out and kind of shaped it so the top end kind of goes like hugs the guitar a little bit more. And then the low mids are just making some room for other stuff. They need to go in there, but the problem was there's not like a whole lot of like mid-range sustain in any of the elements except for the I guess the vocals on this song. So the drums kind of had an opportunity to live there. Sometimes that's a cool EQ move, just to boost like 1K on drums or 1.5K. It's a little, you know, I don't know. I like it. I think it sounds cool. So here's with the out. Yeah, this sounds like what I would normally mix drums to sound like. And that's a mixing tool right there. A little bit of multiband, bring it back up some of the low end. controlling some of that snare, controlling some top transient because of the out. Yeah, that's kind of just moving the low end of the drums down from like 200 more to like 100, kind of just shifting it all over that way. Sometimes that can be a pretty powerful EQ move. Let's see what's next. Let's skip bass really quick, and we're gonna go over to piano, because this piano plays a major part in the drum sound. I think, if I remember right, we've got two 414 strapped under there as a stereo pair, and then a D19 in the middle. And on other songs, I think I just used one or the other, but on this one, they're pretty evenly balanced. So this is the piano sound. All the processing is on the bus. That's really where the piano is. I can even just close this folder because it doesn't matter. So if I turn it all off, this is what we got. There's a lot of bleed. So this Fairchild is just kind of helping out with some of the transients a little bit, just getting a little bit of control. Then this Toop is doing some tone shaping, darkening it up. I didn't really like how bright that piano was for this song. It's a cool sounding piano, it just wasn't the right vibe for this, so it just needed a little guts, a little more sustain. Oh yeah, we'll get there in a second. That's such a cool thing. All right, then I put in Sketch Cassette, which is really doing the most tone shaping. Yeah, it's darkening up a lot. Check this out. Here's the out. I'll go in. It's making it gooey. I love it. Okay, now I have some Soothe in here. I don't remember why. I don't know. It's cool. Oh well, sometimes you just do stuff. Then this EQ is just doing some filtering, kind of getting rid of some of the subby stuff that this is bringing up. Doing a little bit of mid shaping, trying to control the snare right there. I can see it. And then this multi-band compressor is really doing the snare control. Check this out. This got a sidechain from the snare. It's just doing the mid band on this stereo piano bus. It's bypassed. Yeah. There's a bunch of snare sustain coming from this this piano setup. So here, check it out. With the piano. Man, that drum kit just feels small and sad without the piano in. Cool. So I've got this going to this short verb, which is an EMT 140, like the UAD one. It's on a really short setting. It's that B, and then I've got the bottom rolled way off. Nothing crazy going on in there, no EQ or anything. It's just kind of straight to bus. And I guess I'm filtering out. I'm doing that twice. I don't know. Whatever. I'm really filtering out the top here. This is mostly happening in the plugin, so this is probably redundant, but that's cool. Yeah, just filtering out some of the top here. And then the cool thing that I was going to tell you about is I did this effects throw into the choruses with this Valhalla delay. I like that move a lot. I need to recycle that one. That's a good one. Doing it with the piano. Like it's like a big crash. Check it out. Yeah. love it. All right, now let's go to bass here. Check it out. I use the DI. I know I mic'd his amp. I don't remember what mic I used, but it doesn't really matter because it's not in this mix. I guess I have 2 bass channels. What's this one doing? Oh, there's a bass solo that I have some slightly different processing going on with. But the main bass sound, here's all plugs off. I like that DI sound. It's great. This SVT is really doing some major shaping. Rolling off some of the very top, saturating it quite a bit. This is kind of getting rid of some of the low, weird boominess and then adding some articulation. So I think the articulation was kind of more up in here, but I wanted it down in that like 700 range. So it's a little more gutsy and rock and roll. And then I got this, I was using this Neutron sculptor, which I don't use this very much, but it's doing something cool on this. Here's with the out. Sounds good. And man, sounds real good. I need to use that more often. Yeah, it's not really touching the bottom of it. It's just kind of controlling the low mid some. So it's really cool. And then I got this Neutron Transient Designer that is just working on the lows, I believe. Yeah. So you can take it out. That's doing some heavy lifting. It's really tightening up the lows. And then a little bit of Ozone Exciter, doing some tape stuff. I was in an isotope mood on the bass today. Not today. A year ago? 2 years ago? I don't know. It's a long time ago. And then I got this multi-band thing happening from the kick, and it's also doing some... this band is not active, but this low band, the sub band, is interacting with the kick. Do this a lot, and sometimes I'll just boost the bottom there because I have a band anyways, may as well use it. That's bass for you, nothing crazy. Guitar is even less crazy. Oh, you know what? The main thing, I got a little bit of compression going on, just kind of helping the transient, helping bring some of that decay up. It's a pretty small sound. Making it a little bigger, making it a little more immediate. Then some EQ. Oh, some dynamic EQ, kind of taming that high mids bump. Didn't need much. Sometimes I got like 10 plugs on a guitar. Not this time. So this verb short. This short verb short. That's how my aux is. What is this called? My send is named. Is that EMT again, and I'm pretty sure like I probably shaped that verb sound around this guitar because it's doing such a splashy thing. Is with the out. Yeah, it's making it really wide and giving it some ambience and depth. And then this spring in the middle, you really notice it when it's gone, but it's subtle. Sometimes, if I got a really mono sound, I'll do a couple of different effects and maybe pan one the other direction to kind of make it not sound so like, I know this is only at 65 or whatever, but make it not sound so hard panned. Yeah, so that's cool. I don't know that there's any crazy automation, just level automation on this going on. And then Whirly has some fun automation going on. This sound I didn't mess with a whole lot, just a little bit of EQ. Nothing crazy. It's making it a little bigger. Giving it some bottom. And then a little bit of compression. Oh yeah, really just a little bit. I thought I was going to say a little bit and then open it up and see it doing like 12 dB or something. Nah, it's just cool. So I got this cool delay going. It's going to that short verb. And then I also got it going to this delay in the verses to like, you know, it's just these big whole notes. So it's doing sustain, but on the other side of the stereo spectrum. And if you listen to it, it kind of moves from right to left. Yeah, that was a bad one. So in context. This feels good. You know, when the vocal's in there, it's maybe not doing as, it's not quite as noticeable as it is in the instrumental track, but you know, it just gives the track some movement and drives it along in a really cool way. And I also like how towards the end of the what is it? Like towards the end of that second measure, it starts feeling a little left heavy, and then the pianos come in and balance it out again, and then it gets a little left heavy and the pianos come out and balance it again. I think that's really cool. And then on the choruses, it doesn't need it, so you can see I basically muted it. I didn't quite mute it. It's just a lot more filled out, and I didn't feel like the effect was necessary. I think there's a vocal verb that really kicks in on the choruses too, so the space comes from elsewhere. Let's talk about vocals here. Madelyn is so good. I was APing earlier, and it's pretty crazy.
He left no time to regret.
Like, man, that's nothing on there. It sounds so good. She just sounds like that. I could put any mic in front of her, and she'd sound like that. Not any mic, but you know, a lot of mics.
He left no time to regret.
So I've got a little bit of filtering going on here, just some roll off, and then a little bit of 220 out of there. And then this LA2 is doing a fair bit.
He left no time to regret. We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times. You go back to her, and I go back to.
So I think in the studio I had a retro 176 on her voice. It was either that or the retro stay level. I can't remember which one it was. I don't know which one they have. I could probably look it up, and I've got an old input list somewhere. So I've got that compressor going on. I got a little bit of Saturn happening here. I don't know why that doesn't need to be on.
We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times.
Super duper subtle. Just a little bit of those third order saturations to give it some grit. Saturations, harmonics. I know words. Then a little bit of multiband. Just so the low end doesn't get like super close to you. Too close to you. Don't want to touch the low end. You got to be careful. Then a little bit more EQ doing nothing, and this soothe, which I'm assuming is doing what that EQ. Nope, not doing that. Let's turn this off.
I died 100 times. You go back to her.
Yeah, I don't usually use soothe like that, but what I'm doing there is I'm using it to control the mid, so it kind of pushes the vocal back into the mix a little bit. I really wanted a loud vocal on this song because it just felt like it needed it, but it was kind of too up in my face, and this just seemed like a transparent way to compress it, so I did it. And then a little bit of de-essing.
We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times. You go back to her.
Then I'm pretty sure I recorded this AMS in the studio and just kind of left it on. It's not on very much.
100 times. You go back to her.
It's just adding a tiny bit of depth, but it is really subtle. I don't know. Maybe I'm tricking myself with that one. I figured out this trick a while ago that I'm sure I'm not the first one at all, but what I'll do is I'll go through, like, especially on a vocal that has a whole lot of bleed in it. What I'll do is I'll duplicate the vocal and then go through and really clean up one of the tracks. So make it sound bad. Like I'll use all the tricks. I'll use RX and like really make it just the vocal in that channel, and like delete all of the silence between notes, like delete all the consonants. And then what I'll do is I'll use that channel to drive all the effects. So like your verbs don't have a ton of drums in them and stuff like that. So you wouldn't want that to be your main vocal sound, but you know, a lot of the times it works well enough to be the channel that you send your vocal from to like verbs and delays and stuff like that, and it just is a cleaner result that sounds more like a vocal verb rather than like a whole mix verb or whatever. So that's not what I'm doing here, because this vocal's clean. What I'm doing here is I must have decided that I'm pretty sure I had recorded another reverb that ended up not working for whatever reason, and when I started putting the main vocal into a reverb, it just wasn't sounding dynamic enough. So I think the whole thing with this one is that I just was making a separate send that was fully dynamic, so it would hit those reverbs at really different levels and kind of do some of that automation that I'd normally like write in. I think I did write in a lot of automation on that send. Yeah. This is all Vox Verb send automation. But at the same time, there's the dynamics of her vocal doing a lot of the work, hitting that reverb harder or less hard, and it just makes it sound dynamic and cool in a way that you can't get if you're sending a super compressed vocal to a verb. That verb is going to be more consistent, and sometimes that's what you need in a mix, but sometimes like it's cool to have the contrast of a like more consistent main vocal and then a less consistent verb. It's just a thing. I should do that more often. It's a cool move. That's kind of it for the vocal. So there's that. Let's actually look at the verb here. Oh, I had it off. That's why it was sounding weird. I would go into this AKG spring.
He left no time to regret.
What am I
Kept
doing?
his
Filtering.
lips wet with his same old.
Then after it, I'm taking out some bottom, kind of making it brighter. And then I have a slap going on as well.
He left no time to regret. Kept his lips wet with his same old safe bet.
So I'm doing some stuff on that. So it looks like I got it going to Uber mod, and it's not fully mixed in there, so it's like doing a chorusy thing. So let's hear it without the other plugs. Hear what that's doing.
He left no time.
Yeah, just kind of making it wider before it hits that echo boy, which is on like a space echo setting. It's really saturated and distorted.
He left no time.
Fully wet.
To regret.
Then that's going to, it sounds like a Valhalla vintage verb. Yeah, it's set pretty short. It's on a chamber. 100% mix. Interesting.
He left no time to regret.
Yeah, so this is like a cool, like filtered pre-delay is really what's going on. Going to this Valhalla. Yeah, I don't have any pre-delay. That's definitely what I was doing. It's like a filtered chorusy pre-delay going to this super short room, which this is a good sound. So yeah, when I opened up this session, I did this mix on another computer. When I opened up this session, it's a little crunchier than the other mix. I changed some stuff on the master bus a little bit, but it's pretty close to what I had it as. Just some levels and driving it and stuff. So this is a plugin that I don't use anymore because they don't have a M1 version. I think this company SoundSpot is no longer making plugins, which is annoying, and I really like this EQ, but I don't use it. So I've got it in mid side, and I'm rolling off some of the sub bassy stuff on the sides, just like at 90-ish.
Oh my God.
And then the real move here is I've got a real wide Q at 220, and it's just boosting, or 217, I'll be exact. And it's boosting 2.5 dB, but just on the outside. So
oh my
Let's go just a widening trick. And then I guess I wanted a little more of that in the middle channel too, which that's funny. Normally, just the way that I usually mix, I end up with too much like 220 and stuff, so I end up having to take that out. So that's the opposite move that I normally do. But on this one, every mix is different. Here's without. Here's with the end. Nothing crazy, just kind of making it wider, a little bigger. Oh, you know what? Let's jump over to this effects bus. What do I got going on here? Oh, just a little mid scoop on all of the effects, and then a little bit of widening. Okay, back to the master bus. That's boring. Then I got this PSP vintage warmer, which I used to use this plug all the time. It does a thing that there's not a lot of other plugs that do this.
Oh my God.
So I got it set up, giving it a little juice into the plug. This thing will saturate your sounds more than I desire a lot of the time. So I'm pretty careful with, like, I use the meters on this plug, so make sure that the pre isn't hitting too hard, and then just kind of tune the drive to taste. For me, I always put it in multiband and then take off brick wall. I really just like the sound of it as a compressor, as a multiband compressor. Set your crossovers. I don't have anything going on with the EQ there, or I guess that's band level. I don't know. Speed, I normally find that around 50 is a pretty good spot. Like all the way up to 100 is really fast, and it can really crunch your transients. Here, check this out.
Oh my God.
Yikes.
We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times.
Anyways, yeah, and then this knee knob is kind of like, I don't have my head fully around what this thing is doing, but it's kind of like feels like a downward compression, upward compression ratio controller or something, because signal gets way loud when the farther you go towards 100. Yeah. Then you got to make sure when you're using that thing that you balance your output with it, because your output will compress a lot. I've messed up some mixes doing that.
We only said goodbye with words.
Yeah, it's still getting a little crunchy. I know I intentionally wanted the vocal to get a little crunchy on the louder parts, and I think that's happening primarily in the PSP, and then the way it's hitting the Oxford and the limiter. So the inflator isn't doing a whole lot on this tune. I always, like, my standard setting is 25%, and then I just kind of make the input.
We only said goodbye with words.
Yeah, it clips a little bit, but I'm cool with it. I like it. I can't really hear it clipping by itself. And then I've got this L2 giving it a few more dB.
We only said goodbye with words. I died 100 times. You go back to her and I go back.
Yeah, settings wise, I have a little bit of look ahead on. I have it on this transparent setting. And I don't have the transients or release linked, so it's like a pretty independent limiting thing going on. I just like the sound of it. It sounds cool. I have to master a lot of my own stuff. At least we do for Scary Pockets. And I don't know. My thing with mastering is that when it's a single, man, just like listening to a ton of songs, like there's so many different ways that songs sound good, and I don't have any sort of ideal. So, sometimes just a limiter is my mastering chain on stuff that I've mixed when it's just a single. When it's an album and you're having to have context with this whole thing, mastering matters a whole lot more, because you're trying to think about how the song connects to one another throughout the course of the whole thing. So that's the mix breakdown. This was fun. Let me know if you got any questions, or if I didn't explain anything there. I know I glossed over a lot of stuff. Mixing, I kind of fly by the seat of my pants a little bit, and that's kind of the way that it should be. I'm just like going with instincts, and everything's affecting everything, and you make moves, and then you don't correct them, and you stack something else on top of them. And I don't know. I try to work quickly, and I try to not be too precious while I'm being creative, and that's sometimes you get odd results with that, but that's part of the fun too. All right, see you next time.